Welcome to the Wellness League podcast with your host Ella. And today my friend is Olympic swimmer Travis Mahoney. Travis is an Australian Olympic swimmer who represented his country at the Rio Olympic Games as well as Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games. That's just a little bit upon his 12-year career of swimming. So let's dive in. All right, let's get started. So firstly, who are you?
I'm Travis Mahoney. I was born in Box Hill, eastern suburbs of Melbourne. Lived there till I was 26, moved to Adelaide. I swam for Australia for about 10 years. Some of the 400 IM and the backstroke, 200, 100. And yeah, that's probably about it.
The simplest way to put all that into a sentence.
Yeah.
That's a lot to drop all at once. So what's your earliest memory of being fit?
Of being fit, I think I was always really sporty and active. Both of my parents did a lot of sport when they were growing up and always encouraged lots of sport. So I just remember going to the beach and swimming. My mum taught me how to swim. Played lots of basketball. My older brothers played basketball, so got me into that.
Yeah.
Little athletics, tennis.
Pretty much the Australian kid's dream, right?
Yeah. And I always love sport. There's something special about sport that just I love and I'm drawn to. So pretty much from as early as I can remember, I can remember being fit and, I'd sign up for every sport you could in primary school and high school.
Yeah, same. Was it to get out of class though? Is that why you signed up to everything?
No, I think because I just genuinely, probably a combination of the two. I genuinely enjoyed it. And you also got the day off school. So it was not the worst thing.
There was pros and cons to everything, right? Talking about swimming, where did that all start? So was it that you saw somebody and then you started from there? Yeah,
so I always had like a natural affinity with, loved going to the beach, loved swimming in pools. Probably I've spoken about it before. My main sort of inspiration was Sydney 2000. I was 10 years old. The Olympics were everywhere. I didn't go to watch, but I watched all of it on TV. And sort of the one clear memory I have in my head was the men's 4x100 freestyle relay. Michael Klim broke the world record in the lead-off. We beat the Americans. Obviously learnt about that race a lot more once I was a bit older.
Because there's a bit of a huge rival between Australia and America in swimming, right?
Yeah. So in that race, the 4x100 freestyle relay, Australia had never won.
Right.
I think the Americans had lost maybe once or never lost.
Yep.
And there was a bit of argy-bargy where Gary Hall Jr., this big sprinter male, said, we're going to smash them like guitars. And then I'm sure you've seen the famous celebration when they win, they all start strumming guitars. I get goosebumps talking about it because I've seen that race hundreds of times on YouTube and it still gets me really excited and sort of...
What do you think it is about that race? I know obviously the winning part, but is there anything in particular about the race that really sets off the emotion?
I just think being the underdog and also it being a home Olympics, night one, Ian Thorpe I think won the 400 freestyle earlier that night, was swimming the last leg of the relay. Yeah. It was just sort of a perfect storm for national pride of beating the Americans. Yeah. That was probably that moment. It's my mum's. I can't remember it super clearly, but Mum was she said during that's what I want to do. Yeah. I want to be an Olympian. At that stage, I was all in on basketball. Yeah. Thought it was going to be playing for the Boomers, but that wasn't to be. So, no, that's probably the earliest memory. Nice. Yeah.
So your swimming career started. So you were saying your mum taught you how to swim, and then from there, where did you get into start racing, as in squad racing, or? Did you go to more swimming lessons?
No, so I didn't do, Mum taught me to swim. I didn't go to any swimming lessons. The first time I started swimming was in Victoria. They have mandated swimming lessons. Everyone in primary school goes to the pool and learns how to swim. And I enjoyed it. And then I think it was grade 4, around that same time as the Olympics, I thought I wanted a race and entered the school carnival. And they said, can you swim well or not? I didn't really know. And they put me in the B race. So there was the A race and the B race. And I won and went quicker than everyone in the A race.
Oh.
And that was sort of the time we thought, or I thought, this could be something I could do.
Do you feel like everybody who was in those races now thinks, oh, that guy bet me back in like school carnival?
I'm not sure they'd remember the race. Grade 4 is a long time ago. But yeah, it was that moment. I did some more. I joined not even a squad. It was just like
a fun swimming club.
Twice a week. And I swam twice a week from the age of 10 till about 15.
Yep. Were these early mornings before school or?
No, I was only swimming twice a week. So it was sort of just for fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And did school swimming. At that stage, I was playing basketball 5 times a week. I played domestic and rep basketball. I also, for some reason, decided tennis was also going to be a good sport all at the same time.
Yeah.
And then it was, I was 15 or 14 and a half. I got cut from the rep basketball team. And I thought, screw basketball. I'm going to give swimming a go. And I stopped playing basketball and I moved to a proper swimming squad that had 5 sessions a week. And so it was that when I was 15, went more sessions, improved out of sight, motivated me more. I moved. I quickly became the quickest at that club, and then sort of needed some other people to swim and train with.
Do you remember like the first time somebody said to you that you've got talent in swimming?
I probably don't remember.
Yeah.
At that stage, I was still doing it because I enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah. That's fair.
And
That's
I liked racing. So that was my whole career. I don't think up until I retired, I never hated the sport. Or quite often people finish their sport and they
never want to see it again.
They don't love it, but for me, I still loved racing. It was the training that was the necessary evil to be able to race.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was probably not. I didn't make my first national championships till I was 16.
Yep.
I finished second last and fourth last.
Yeah.
At my first nationals, and then so it was when I was 16. When I was 17, made 2 finals, and then when I was 18, got fourth place.
Yeah, nice.
At nationals, so quite late to swimming. Like swimming's generally a younger sport.
Yeah. What's the average age of like somebody getting up in the sport?
Females typically tends to be a bit younger, but males in their sort of peak from like 20 to 25.
Yeah. Yep.
And then some people are even earlier, like Kyle Chalmers won the Olympics at 18.
Yeah.
So typically it is a bit later in male swimming, just the strength development, you need a few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of that, when I started making nationals and making national finals, I thought it could be maybe an opportunity to make the Australian team or go to the Olympics, but it was still sort of a far-flung dream that might happen. Yeah.
And you were still at school at this time as well, right?
Yeah, so it was like year 12 was my last year, and then I dropped my training back in year 12 to focus on school, and then sort of as soon as school finished, I took it up another notch and saw some improvement, which is good.
Did you go to university once you finished school, or did you get picked up for swimming then?
Like not that good at swimming on the sort of talent identification part. Like I was never picked on a talent identification in my career, and that was probably a bit of something I used as motivation. Like, if you don't think I'm deserve to be in this talent identification, I'm gonna like prove you wrong, kind of thing.
I heard a story the other day. That's funny you say that, because listening to, do you know Lucy Bronze, who plays for England in the female soccer, and she plays for Barcelona as well? Anyway, she is like one of the best defenders, high up in, probably one of the best defenders in the world at the moment. And she was saying she just kept getting like cut from like big football teams in England, and then till one day all these people got sick or injured. There was about 3 players and she got called up, and everybody like fell over when she started playing, and we're like, yeah, we've never thought that's who she was and how she played, and then she came out amazing. Yeah. That's
it. You got to take your opportunity.
Exactly.
Take your opportunities. I guess sometimes the people making decisions actually don't know everything, or aren't the true experts, or you never know how someone's going to perform until they experience that high pressure situation.
Of course. Yeah.
But
yeah, nice. And so you went to university then, and then you were still swimming on the side?
So it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do at university. So straight out of school, I started studying biological science.
Yep.
Because biology was my best subject at school, and I thought I was inspired by my biology teacher. And I thought I'll I'll go down that path. And it just didn't, it wasn't feasibly possible to do a science degree while I was still swimming.
Yeah.
The sheer hours of practicals, 3 and 4 hour practicals,
Right.
Every week just made it really difficult. And then also job prospects. A lot of them were in research, and I like to be out and talking to people and getting out there. So it was not really, I quickly realised it wasn't something for me. I just deferred from uni, was working in retail, Oakley sunglasses.
Yeah, nice.
A few shifts a week and just training. At that stage, I was sort of 19. I'd got Victorian Institute of Sport scholarship. So I was getting some more support, coaching and going away on trips. And I really wanted to give it a red hot crack of working a little bit and just going all in on swimming.
Yeah.
And then later, after I sort of established myself on the team a while, I thought I should probably get back to getting some qualifications because, swimming, like most Olympic sports, there's not much money in it all, enough to survive while you're doing it, but that's about it.
Unless you get into like your journalism or anything and go into commentating, there's not much else.
Even still saying that you've probably got to have a qualification to get into that kind of stuff. So.
Does it help that there's lots more programs now to help people study while they're training to help them after?
Yeah, I think I had really good career support through the VIS, through Swimming Australia, through SASI when I moved here. I think it's changed a lot, 10, 15 years ago. There probably wasn't as much support, but I know you've still got to have the initiative to do it yourself.
Course. Yeah. That's like with anything.
Yeah. So went back to uni, was doing science teaching. I thought teaching might be a thing for me.
Yeah.
Quickly realised it wasn't. And then when I moved to Adelaide, I moved into a business degree in marketing.
Yeah, I know.
And so I finished that in 2021.
Yes, yeah.
So it was about 7 years to finish a 3-year undergraduate.
I think that's fairly, like a lot of athletes say the same thing. Like I had somebody on, I think it was like 3 episodes ago, and he said the same thing. He was high up in like soccer and goalkeeping, and he's like almost 40 and just finished his degree. The same kind of thing, being an athlete, and said it's so hard to juggle everything while you're studying.
Yeah.
And then, in a sport too.
It's really, you've got to be organised or else you just literally can't do it. So it was all about picking and choosing when, all right, this is a busy training period. I'm away on camps. I might only do one subject. All right, this is the time it's a bit slower.
Yep.
I can probably do 2 or 3 topics.
Yeah.
I think when COVID hit, I took the opportunity to just go as full-time as I could.
Yeah. I did the same that year because that was my final year at university as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Made it hard, but it was, a lot easier to study because you were kind of forced to study.
Yeah, well, there was sort of not, with swimming, it was, we're leading into the Olympics, so we've got a whole nother year until trials. So make the most of this time where, we're not traveling because we can't, and we're just training and chip away at some of my uni topics.
So let's talk about the journey to the 2016 Olympics. How did you get there from swimming you're doing your 5 training sessions a week? What did the journey look like? So,
I moved to Nunawading when I was 16 and upped my training to 8, 9 a week.
Yeah.
And they have a really strong program. My coach, Rowan Taylor, had moved to Nunawading, I think, in 2007.
So is this like Vic Sport?
Yeah, in Victoria, Nunawading Swimming Club. It's a sort of has a bunch of Olympians who swam there before. Rowan Taylor coached many Olympians, was Coach Liesl Jones, a bunch of other really, really great swimmers. And so he came on as a head coach and sort of really had a huge impact on me. And I just improved year on year, and anytime I didn't make a team or any sort of disappointment fueled me further.
Yeah.
There's probably like a defining moment. So I spoke about Michael Klim before. He was like my hero, had his poster on my wall. And when he did his comeback in 2011, he trained with our squad.
Oh, cool.
So I got the rare opportunity to train next to my hero.
And fire you up so
much
and
more. Race him and beat him sometimes. And there was a moment, if you ever get a chance to meet him, he's one of the nicest people you could ever meet. just pulled me aside after a training session and said, essentially told me, oh, you've got what it takes to be an Olympian, to represent Australia, like the stuff you do in the pool, how hard you work. He's like, I've got no doubt.
Yeah.
And
How
when
did you feel?
like it was like I felt like in the clouds, like to hear that from your like childhood hero.
Yeah.
It sort of just erased any self-doubt you had.
Yeah.
Because if this, world record holder or Olympic gold medalist thinks that I can do it, like, well, why not?
Yeah. That must have been huge for you, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was 2011 leading into the 2012 London trials. I got glandular fever at the end of 2011 off the back of an altitude training camp in Spain.
Yeah.
So I ended up not racing at the trials for London, which was really hard at the time because at that stage I thought, this is it. I'm going to make it and live my dream. But obviously got put on pause for a few years.
Like they say, everything happens for a reason, and your reason just wasn't London.
Yeah. So I ended up making my first international team end of 2012, the World Short Course Championship, and really sort of took momentum from there. Made Commonwealth Games in 2014, 2015, and talking in terms of the journey.
Sorry, the 2014 Games, was that Glasgow?
Yeah, Glasgow, yeah.
How'd you go there?
Yeah, so I made my first team, finished 6th in the 400 IM. So I went with a goal to make the final, made the final, did a personal best in the final. So
nice.
About as good as I could ever hope for it, like first multi-sport games.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of motivating. I thought, this is great. Just continue on the way. 2015 was a really hard year. I missed Worlds by 0.1 of a second. So the way qualification works is you've got to be top 2 and under usually the FINA A time. But there'd been a change in selection criteria and you had to be top 8 in the world. So I missed the top 8 time in the world by 0.1. And then...
God, something like a 0.1 seems so small, but in like a sport like swimming, it's huge.
Over 400 meters, it's not big at all. It's like...
But I mean, like when it comes to the finish line, it could like be a difference between first and third in some races.
Yeah, for sure. But it hurts when that's the reason you miss the team. And then, a few months later, my auntie, who'd been battling cancer for 8.5 years by that stage, passed away.
Yeah.
And then a month later, my grandmother passed away.
Oh, God.
So it was like 2015 was a really defining, like it was a really down year. Like it was
a lot.
A lot to take on. But in saying that, I was so motivated in that lead into 2016. I just had the mindset of my auntie Sal, who fought so hard.
Yeah.
And, anytime training was hard or I was hurting or, I would just think like, get over it. Like I'm just working to be the best athlete. Like if she can fight that hard, like why can't I just push even harder?
Yeah. It's so important to have something like that in the back of your mind because it really helps you push forward further and
just a bit of perspective. Like sport is you put a lot of energy and passion into it, but in the end it's just sport. Like if you have a poor race, you're still waking up tomorrow with clean drinking water and a roof over your head, and it's in the end it's not life changing.
Just another race
and it means a lot. So like but in the grand scheme of things, it's not as important as some other things. But had a really good lead in, had the trials. The 400 aim is day 1, so had the heats in the morning, went well, swam a PB, made the team.
Yeah, nice.
And it was like a dream come true,
and
obviously.
Who was your 3 other people who were in the team as well?
There was only 2 in the Olympic years. So Commonwealth Games, they picked top 3. Olympic Games, it was Tom Fraser-Holmes.
Yes, I remember him racing,
So he won and broke the Australian record, and then I was second. So it was like incredible to sort of go from being a 10-year-old dreaming of these things. Like not many people get to live out their dreams. But it was quickly changing mindset to, all right, I've made the team. Now how am I going to make the most impact and improve for the Olympics?
Yeah. Are we still training with the same group?
Yep, still with Rowan Taylor, my coach. So it's sort of taken me from just making national team like times all the way through to making the Olympic team. So I spent a lot of time with him. He's like a second dad.
Yeah.
Quite often your training squads are like brothers and sisters and family
because you spend so much time with
you're
them.
probably spending more time with them than your actual family.
Yeah.
But in saying opening ceremony, opening ceremony was night before my heat. So actually the swim team don't go to the opening ceremony.
Oh,
so,
damn.
There's a bit like solidarity between the swimming team, even if you're in sort of day 6 or day 7.
Yeah.
The swim team will stick together.
Do you have your own like mini ceremony before, like?
We actually did all get into our like opening ceremony uniform and just wait in the village and watch, like create like a guard of honor for the people actually going to the ceremony.
What happens if the flag bearer is a swimmer?
They go.
They go.
Yeah,
right?
they have
and they
to
just
go.
have to deal with being
Yeah,
tired.
yeah. And so I think Kate Campbell was maybe
Yeah,
a flag bearer
that's right.
for Tokyo, was she? Or
I reckon. In the last couple of years, she's definitely been
And so it's essentially, well, that's just like you have to. Not the greatest preparation, but typically like, and the Rio was a different beast because heats were 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
Right.
And finals were 10 p.m. to midnight.
God, so talking about like what happens on a day like that. So how do you set up your day to have your peak performance in the middle of the day and then also so late at night?
Yeah, it's like months of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we moved our training back 7 till 9 in Australia to get used to for months ahead.
How long before the race do you find out like those timings to be out?
Oh, we knew a year before.
Okay,
so it's all NBC broadcaster deal. So pretty much whenever America wants to hold them in their prime time, that's when the races are.
Yep.
So in Tokyo, they have heats at night, finals in the morning.
Okay.
For the time difference.
Yes.
So the finals are on prime time American time.
Oh, of course, to keep the Americans.
Yeah. And so we had our staging camp in Auburn in America and we were training with the time difference. We could work it out. So we were training, I think, 8 till 10.
Yep.
And then that was equivalent of 10 till midnight in
how long before?
In Brazil.
So the Olympics, did you go to America to acclimatise to that?
We were in Auburn for maybe.
What state's that in as well?
In Alabama.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my squad and another squad, we actually went to San Diego before then. So we went Australia, San Diego for a week.
Yep.
And then I think we're in Auburn for almost 2 weeks or 10 or 12 days.
Yeah.
And then into Rio, and we had maybe 5 days in Rio before
to acclimatise and get ready. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's all planned where you're making sure you're peaking in the evenings, and all of our rooms in the village had taped up and blocked out the windows so we could sleep until we essentially just shifted our entire time clock back so that you're waking up at 10 a.m. and it's like waking up at 6 a.m.
Okay.
So eating the hard thing was, I think, eating dinner at like 1:30 or 2 in the village.
Yeah.
It was hard because there was a bit of disconnect with other teams because they weren't racing at these kinds of times. So it sort of shifted everything back. Interaction between like people on the train team was actually quite difficult because, we'd wake up and people would be at training and then we'd go for a swim and it'd be lunchtime and we'd be back.
Yeah.
And then, not eating dinner with other sports or anything like that. But
that's like very interesting though to know that all that back prep happens before a race, because what us viewers just see is you just turn up and somehow have to push a final at 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
It's like, they just do it.
But
there's a lot to it.
There is, and lots of training for it as well.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, you get behind the block for Olympics. I only went once, but I would have trained 12 years for that moment.
What do you find the difference between standing behind that block at the Commonwealth Games is to the Olympics?
To be honest, it wasn't really much different for me because I think the second Commonwealth Games was different, but for me, I typically got a bit nervous at the first time of anything.
Okay, yep.
But in saying that, the Olympics, I wasn't nervous because I knew I'd trained as hard as I possibly could.
Yeah.
I was just there to
do what you
do what I do. Yeah, exactly. That's the fun bit. I loved racing. I think it was good. I didn't have much pressure on myself or external pressure, so I was pretty fortunate. There was I'm not a gold medal favorite. I was just, but I went in, I swam my heat. I prepared as if that was going to be my only swim because I was going in ranked 18th.
Yep.
I swam a PB in the heat in the morning, 1.7 second PB. Made the final, 7th, and then finished 7th in the final. So it was a tough backup because I'd prepared. I'd gone all out in the morning as a max effort. I'd done all my caffeine and bicarb loading and everything to peak in that morning. It was a tough one to back up, but I was still under my previous PB. I was a little bit slower than the morning, but to do two max effort 400 AMs in a day is pretty tough.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a long distance to push max effort out on too.
Yeah, a 4-minute effort.
Yeah.
So I think my highest lactate was about, I think it was 23 millimoles. So high.
Yes.
painful. So nausea inducing. But unfortunately that was the event I was good at. If I could choose it, I wouldn't choose it.
So talking leading up to the race, because we don't see what happens until you walk out to the blocks, kind of explain what happens behind and how you prep yourself to get onto the blocks. Because I've always sat there and been like, what's happening behind there and how are you prepping?
Yeah. So for my heat, I was racing at 1. I wanted to make sure I was up at least 4 hours beforehand. I walked to there was buses to and from our building to the dining hall. Yeah. But I wanted to walk to the dining hall I like to get up and get moving and get my blood flow going. And so it was that. And then pack my bag, get to the pool at probably about 2 hours prior to the event. Maybe give myself an extra 20-minute buffer in case the bus is late or I miss the bus or something like that. And then get to the pool, jump on the physio table, get a light little treatment, like 5 minutes max, just a bit of I used to get a back manipulation. It was just a bit of a routine for me. And then I did my dry land activation. So there's probably 15 to 20 minutes of TheraBand work, core activation, bit of skipping, get your heart rate up, get yourself ready to get into the water to warm up. I should say also did sodium bicarb loading. So essentially you take total 28 Sodibic tablets.
Yeah, wow.
It's a lot. So you sort of stagger it over 3 hours before. You take it in 3 doses. And the idea behind that is it increases the pH of your blood.
Okay.
So you can push more hydrogen ions out of your muscles into your blood.
Right.
And so
it's interesting way to do it.
In terms of lactic acid, a lot of thought is that the excess hydrogen ions are the things that cause fatigue when you have lactic acid. And so by making your blood more basic, it allows your muscles to push more of those ions via osmosis into the blood.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of studies we did on this, and I found it worked really well for me.
Yeah. Did a lot of the people you were racing with doing the same thing, or they did what suited them?
Yeah, so some people's, like your stomach, it's a lot to handle, but my stomach could handle all right. Some people didn't suit it. Some people didn't like the feeling it gave them.
What was the feeling like?
It's hard to describe. It's like you still have that lactic acid, but you can somewhat push a little bit longer, or you maybe don't feel it as much.
Yep.
But in a really high lactate producing event like a 400 IM, I found it really useful. So an hour before the race, I'd take my last batch of sodium bicarbonate. I'd take 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Yep. Through a gel or just?
Just 3 no-dos, just as tablets. Some people do gels. Some people have caffeine gum. And I've done testing over years and years to figure out what's too much, what's not enough.
Yeah.
and that's with all of our protocols. You're not doing it for the first time at the Olympics.
Yeah, it's probably not a good time to test it.
Nah, and then I got in and did my normal warm up. So I had.
So is there like a pool behind where
Yep.
Yep.
There's a 50-meter pool.
Yep.
10 lane, just out the back of the. So you got the main racing pool with a stadium around it, and then just out the back there's all your team dry warm up areas, and then 10 lane 50-meter pool.
Yep.
And so I just got in and did my regular warm up. So it was about 1,300 meters. So just some basic normal stuff, bit of technique, focus stuff, and then 3 100s build to a decent heart rate to get the system firing, and then a few race paces.
It's crazy to think you've already swum 1,300 metres before you even get in the pool to that race.
I mean, when you're doing 45 to 50k a week, 1,300 is not
Nothing.
much. So
but I mean, like, you don't even think of that when they stand out on the blocks. You're like, oh yeah, they probably just warmed up on land and then jumped in.
No, yeah. So it's like you push decently hard because you want to open up the system, get ready.
Yeah.
And so I aim to get out of the water about 20 minutes before the race. Get dry, put my race suit on. And like brand new race suits probably take a little good 5 to 10 minutes depending on.
Yeah. Do you have a new one for every big event?
I like them on the second or third wear.
Okay.
So like the day before I'm not racing, I'll just put them on and walk around in them for a little bit just to stretch them out a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for like Olympics, I'll go brand new suits. But for like normal races in the year and not major competitions, I'll wear older suits. But brand new suits for racing. Grab your accreditation. So you need your accreditation to actually check in.
Yep.
And stay warm. Put a whole entire tracksuit on. Doesn't matter how hot it was. Put a whole tracksuit on. Take my spare goggles. Take a spare cap. And then head to the marshalling room. So there's 2 marshalling rooms. So you go in the first one. They tick your name off. They check your suit's got the official logo thing on it.
Yeah.
They check your cap that's got the right size logos as well. And then you just go and sit in a room with all the people you're about to race against, and then you're in lines of your heat. And then there's one final room that only one heat stays in, and then the heat in front of that is in the water.
So were you standing there with like headphones on, or were you talking to people?
I didn't listen to music or wear headphones. I would chat to whoever would chat to me because I was like chatty.
Yeah, that was like your pre-game.
Yeah. Some people will just sit there quietly. Some people have music on. Some people make noises and slap themselves, and it's kind of everyone has their own thing that works for them. But I would happily sit there not talking, but if someone wants to talk to me, I'll talk to them.
Yeah.
A funny story with Rio, I actually broke 2 pairs of goggles in the marshalling room. So I broke the first one. I said, oh yeah, lucky I've got a spare strap. Put the strap on. Broke the second one. I'm like, oh, this is a bit of an issue.
Oh no.
And so I went back to out the front of the marshalling room. We had a team manager sitting there with a bunch of like random spare stuff. And I'd given her my training goggles, the day before, or it sits in a box. So it looks like I'm doing it with training goggles. So I grab my training goggles and
What's the difference between them?
Well, they're just old and scratched.
Okay,
and,
so just not your fresh ones.
Not brand new. Yeah. And at the time, I probably didn't think about it. I actually didn't remember until a couple of months later that I just forgot that I'd broken goggles in the marshalling room. But I reckon it probably psyched a few people out next to me. I reckon they were a bit worried. Oh, geez, what's this guy doing breaking multiple pairs of goggles?
Yeah.
But at that point, I was like, there's nothing I can do about it. I have my spare stuff, and then...
You warm up, which is so good that you were just pulling them apart.
I don't know whether I did them a little bit too tight or something, but it's okay. It worked out in the end, and then so I went into that last staging room and then walked out. In the heats, there's not much fanfare, so it's sort of just like heat 1, heat 2. You don't get individual name announced. Bit different for the final where each individual person goes through a door, it opens.
With the map on, and then you wave to everyone.
Yeah, you wave to everyone. So, it's a bit different. But, there's there's probably 2 hours worth of work before you even walk out there. Then you go and do your 4-minute race. And if you, you mess up your turn or, like, false start or, like, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're walking out of those gates, as you said, for the finals and they say your name, do you look for your family? Or do you have something that you look for?
It was, so I didn't even know where my family was sitting at night because the way ticketing works, they had, mum and dad had a ticket. They came over to watch. Mum and dad had a ticket for the heats, but then the finals, everyone got given one, and if like your relative made the final, they'd get you a second one.
Okay, yeah.
And so I think it ended up like mum and dad were sitting separate.
Yeah.
Dad ended up sitting with like the Swimming Australia president and all these delegates, because that's the only place they could get him in. So I actually didn't know where they were in the stands.
Right.
I managed to see them briefly after my heat for like 30 seconds, and I went and caught the bus. But I remember speaking to one of my former teammates, who went to Beijing, and he swam in the final, and he said, just make sure you take a moment to just take it all in and live in the moment. He's like, that's probably something I didn't do as much as I'd hoped to. Just really take it in, absorb where you are, Olympic final. And so I did that. So I have a really good memory of walking out and looking at the crowd, and
That's great.
Awesome.
So in between the two races, what did you do in between? And did you have to do the whole warm up again?
Yeah, so I think that was the hard thing backing up. So
you're coming out of your heat, then what do you do?
Coming out of your heat, you go through a big mix zone. It's probably 2 lengths of the 50 metres.
Yep.
I think it's like home broadcast, radio, other TV channels.
Yeah.
I only had to do I think I did a brief one for Channel 7 and then some like local media newspaper stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was probably, I knew I'd done a good time.
Yeah.
And then...
How do you think, like, you've just done a really good time, got out the pool, and how do you go and talk to media? Like...
Yeah, well, I sort of had one eye on the rest of the race, because I was ranked 18th, so I wasn't in one of the seeded heats.
Yeah.
And so there was 2 seeded heats, which were the 16 fastest people. And so I won my heat and touched the wall. I thought, that's a good time. Like, I might be within a chance. And then the first seeded heat wasn't that fast, and the first seeded heat touched, and I was in ranked third. So in my mind, I'm thinking, geez, the last heat, it's either going to be really fast and I'll just miss out, or like I'm looking pretty good.
So do you stand on the side of the pool and watch this, or?
No, because you're in the mix. You're in this media mix zone, so you can't actually see anything. There's a few screens you can see.
Yeah.
And so I saw the times, and that was by the time I'd finished my first bit of media.
Can you see the time from when you finish, like when you get your head out of the water?
Time.
You can see your own time?
Yeah, you just look up on the wall and you can see that your own time. So I'd finished my mix zone. I went back to the warm-up pool, like, seeing coaches like, yeah, great swim, how good. And then saw Ro, and he gave me a huge hug and said how proud he was. And he's like, you're looking good. Like, this last heat, we'll see, but like, you're within a pretty good chance. And so it was like all the team who hadn't in the warm-up area, who were about to race or racing that morning. And so we're watching the screen and watching as the times come through, and it's like, and then the last 100 freestyle, and they're like, you're going to make it. Like, these guys have got to go 3 seconds under world record pace in the last 100 to get ahead of you. And then it was just like, I finished 7th. Tommy, I think was 2nd or 3rd in that last heat, got into the final. So it was the first time in history we've ever had 2 Australians in the 4 AM final.
Wow. And history making.
Yeah, and that was the first race of the Olympic Games. Like, I was the 2nd race in the water of the swimming program. So it was sort of a really good
start to the
momentum builder. And that first day we had 2 guys make the 400 free final, the women relay. And then so it was just an awesome day. The buzz was up, and it was really cool. So then, all right, celebrate, I'm in the final, and it was probably like 20 seconds of like, like I made the final, to like, all right, and cool down.
Yep.
So getting in, you're probably doing 800 to 1,000 to cool down and get flush all the lactate out, get a massage, and then close on back to the village, have lunch, try and have a nap, which is really hard because
you need that hyped up.
You're so excited, and I'd had all that caffeine in the morning because I was treating that race as maybe my only race.
Yeah.
And so trying to wind down was quite hard, but I managed to get maybe 40 minutes sleep, and then it was back up and essentially just prepare again, start doing the bicarb loading again, get to the pool. I think I gave myself a little bit more time for the final, and then just prep for the final, exact same as the morning.
Yeah.
And then enjoy the moment.
Yep. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And then I didn't sleep that night because I'd had so much caffeine again. And
Don't you go and party after?
No, not while the competition's still on. So, and my roommate in Rio was Jake Packard. He was a breaststroker, and he'd actually swum my PB in the 100 breasts, made the semi-final. Swum the semi-final the same night and got 9th. Just missed the final. But so we were both like full of caffeine. Mac Horton had just beat Sun Yang in the 400 free, and social media was going crazy with all these memes, and we were just up for, I think, till about 4 a.m. just laughing to ourselves, trying to be quiet because conscious of other people in our sort of apartment that were still racing. And then I think I had the morning off and then started swimming again because I had the 200 IM on day 4.
Yeah.
And then I didn't make the semis in the 200 IM, but 400 IM was always my best event.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was support the team. So because
Rio, they didn't kick you guys out as soon as you were finished, right? You got to stay around.
No, we got to stay for the whole time.
Oh,
so
cool.
Once your swimming is done, it's expected, and I wanted to be there in the stands supporting the team heats and finals.
Yeah. Did you go to any other sports as well?
Yeah, I got to as much other sport as I could. So I went to the track cycling.
That would have been cool.
USA versus Australia basketball, which was like awesome. Athletics.
Were you happy to be in the pool and not on the court for that Olympics? When you went and saw that game, you're like, all right, I'm glad I was in the pool racing rather than
Yeah. Well, I know I probably would have. I'm definitely not. I don't think I'm tall. I'm 190 centimeters, but I still don't think that's tall enough for basketball. To be honest, you'd probably be one of the shortest players on the court. But yeah, it was really cool. I got to see so much other sport. I watched Usain Bolt win his 9th gold medal.
Oh wow!
The 200, I managed to go with another 2 swimmers from different countries, and we were just walking along. The athlete seating was horrible, and we saw there was like this corporate area. There was a bit of drizzle. They'd gone back into their function room, and we just went, let's just go and sit in these seats. Probably 20 meters from the finish line on the 100-meter straight, like in the lowest bay. Yeah. And we just watched Usain Bolt win his 9th gold medal.
That's insane.
It was like incredible. We watched him warm up. Where they've got this thing where like you get in the bus transport from the village, and so we just jumped on the athletics bus to get to the athletics, and ended up like I think we probably caught the wrong bus. Anyway, the door opened and we just walked out, and we were in the like athletes area. And so we're like, we'll go see what they're doing. And we went out and sat on the middle of the training track and just watched the women's 100-meter finalists warm up, and then Usain Bolt warm up, and the other men's 200-meter finalists warm up. Yeah. And I just never forget how fast they go, like how fast they're running. Yeah. You see, it's like I think it's like a lot of sports. Like you see it on TV and you think, oh yeah, they're moving quick. Yeah. But until you see it, and you're right next to it, I think you can fathom how, loud and powerful and fast these people are moving on the track. Like, if you got in their way, you would get seriously injured. Yeah. But it was good. And then in that second week, once the swimming had done, that's when we could go. We went out, party a few times, and I actually got gastro for about 2 days, so missed out on a few days, but managed.
Did you get to go to the closing ceremony?
Yeah, got to go. I was well enough for the closing ceremony, and
so
that was really cool.
With all these races, do you have a pre-meal or something that you like to eat before every game, or a carb load the night before that you always have?
Not really. For swimming, it's I'm only racing for 4 minutes, so it's not like you need to carb load for it. You've got enough glycogen stores, truly enough glycogen stores to do your race. Yeah. But no, I was not superstitious in what I wanted to eat beforehand. It was sort of go to the dining hall and see what looks good. But yeah, typically I'd eat oats in the morning, and that's probably about it.
Were you superstitious about anything else though?
I don't think I was superstitious about anything else. I certainly had routine that I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, I always put my cap on a certain way or goggles on a certain way. There was one thing I didn't notice until like last probably year of my career when I was getting in for backstroke starts. You got the metal bars, and I always ran my finger along the bottom of the bar to take little droplets of water off.
Yeah.
And it was only sometimes like towards the end I was like, oh, like I do that before every single race, like, and before every single start I do, but like I wouldn't even notice it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no real superstitions or stuff like that.
Crazy. Quick break because big news time. We've got a sponsor. Today's sponsor is Steigen Socks, an Australian athletic apparel company. These socks are made from a mixture of microfiber nylon and lycra, which creates a sock that is one size fits all. And also mention, these socks have a blister-free guarantee. If you get a blister, let them know and they'll give you your money back. I've done a couple of runs in my new socks, and I must say, before wearing these, I was getting blisters every run. Ever since I've worn these socks, there's no blisters in sight. They are the comfiest and most breathable sock on the running market that I've ever seen. So, if you're listening to this podcast and you need some new socks, the code is TWLP2024, and this will give you a 20% discount on all Steigen socks, excluding sale items. So, go and look in the bio for the link and go and get yourself some new running socks. Alright, let's go back to the pod. So the IM, how did you get selected to go into that race and not like a freestyle or anything? So, like, do you know what I mean? How do you pick which event you're going into from? Is that from a young age?
Yeah. So I was always good at backstroke, so I made my first team as a backstroker.
Yeah.
But I could always do a bit of everything.
I have to ask though, how do you say straight while doing a backstroke? Because every time I bloody do a backstroke, I go across the lanes and I'm either hitting my hands on each lane rope or I don't know how it happens. Especially when you swim outside and there's nothing to follow.
Yeah, well, certainly swimming outside makes it a lot more difficult. I swam outside and busted up my pinkies a bunch of times. But I guess when you do it so much, you get so even at your stroke.
There you go.
And your balance is so good that you just stick to a spot. It's kind of hard one to give any tips about. It
just happens.
Yeah, I guess it's probably like get to close to one lane rope. And then just try and keep the same spot in your periphery. Yeah. That's about all I can offer.
So backstroke became your thing, and then...
Backstroke was my thing, and then Rowan, my first coach, he said, like, you'd be a really good medley swimmer. I've coached a bunch of medley swimmers. Like, I think it'd be a really good opportunity.
Yep.
There's not that many good medley swimmers around in Australia. It's sort of an open event.
Yeah.
If you want to start making teams more consistently, or the Olympics, or Olympic final, he's like, I think that's something you could be really good at. And it took me a while to own it.
Yeah.
Because it's a really, really hard event.
Yeah.
It hurts a lot and it's really hard to train for.
Yeah.
So I think the first couple of years of doing it, it was good, but not amazing. But it was probably a lack of like self-investing of like, yes, this is the thing I'm going to do.
Because as a kid, what did you have in mind that your stroke was going to be?
Well, the backstroke was always my best stroke. So, and that's what I enjoyed the most. Yeah. So that was sort of always in my mind, I'll be a backstroker. Because I hated butterfly.
Yeah, that looks really complicated.
Breaststroke's okay, but...
and you do too much freestyle warming up.
Yeah, I love freestyle as well. Yeah. Like, if I could be a freestyler, I would have chosen to be. And I did a few freestyles in relays as well. Actually broke a world record in a freestyle relay. I was going to ask you
that one next.
Yeah. So that was at a World Cup in Tokyo.
Yeah.
I was in a relay with Kate Campbell, Bronte Campbell, Tomasa DeSonia, a freestyler who's my age group, and myself. And I wasn't in the relay. And then whoever was going to be in it, I can't remember who it was, got gastro. And so I wasn't even in the B team of the relays. And they're like, well, we've already put our names in who's going to be in the B, who's going to be in like the different relays. And this is a stage World Cup. It's not super important. You can put multiple teams in, but only one can win, if that makes sense. And so they're like, all right, you will just get like, you can have a crack. And I end up swimming like a huge PB and like quicker than everyone in the B team. So I just kept my spot in the A team. And that was the first one in Singapore. And then in Tokyo, we went there and we broke the world record. And
how was it racing against the Campbell sisters?
I was with them.
Well, I mean, like racing with them on the team. Like
it was really cool. I think the mixed relays are really exciting where you like something that
it's like nothing else.
No, we hadn't done before. So typically the way it goes is you go boy, boy, girl, girl.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're getting caught in the wash and it's not as efficient. So, it was really, really cool.
Yep. Did you train with them at all leading into that race, or you all just jumped in and did your thing?
No, we just sort of all jumped in. I think we did like, 2 or 3 practice changeovers just so they knew what my stroke looked like coming into the wall.
Yep.
And then I'd done a few relays with Tommaso before previously, so I knew.
So when you're
stroke.
like coming in, the
girls were going
jump in.
Yep.
But how do you just jump out from there, or do you know what I mean? How do you get out the way fast enough for the next person, like for them?
Yeah, so like they're jumping further than your body length.
Yeah, and then you just jump out the pool as quick as you can upwards.
Yeah, so it's actually this one was short course, so it's only 25-meter pool. So it's kind of crazy because you're absolutely puffed because I've probably only done one breath for the 50, in the race. And everyone's different stages, and you're ducking. So you've got to go out the side of the pool because if you go over the top, you're touching the touch pads and it messes everything up. So you've got to exit out the side of the pool. So you've got to sort of pick and choose and duck under and like try and move out the way. It's a bit crazy.
I always wondered that because you get out so quickly, but you obviously, like you said, can't go upwards. Yeah.
So sort of you pick your moment, get your breath, and then you might like duck under another few lanes. But
yeah, okay, that makes sense now. That's like my swimming question answered.
Yeah.
What do you find there's a difference between racing in Australia versus racing in pools overseas? Or are they fairly similar?
Not so much in the pools because they're actually all made by like same people. It's Merthyr. They're like, I don't know if they got a monopoly on these racing pools, but there'll be drop-ins in stadiums for major championships. There'll be ones that are permanent. In terms of racing in Australia and overseas, it's just the competition. So Australia can not have as much depth sometimes. And we always did a lot of racing in Japan.
Okay.
They have really, really strong depth. The best medley swimmers are from Japan. So we used to get over there and do a bit of racing. And then also in Europe through our winter.
Yeah.
I raced at the Sedicoli meet in Rome, and that was probably my favourite outdoor pool.
Oh, how good.
Yeah, it's a really cool meet.
Did you have like anybody that you kept racing against, like your arch rival person to swim next to?
Yeah, there was a guy from America, Josh Preno. I used to always race against, and we became really good friends actually. So
cool.
Yeah, he lives in California, but he's retired as well now. But like there was a stretch there where we raced each other like twice a year for like 3 years in a row. There's another guy, Max Litchfield, who's a British swimmer, 400 IM. I raced him in 1 year. I reckon I raced him about 4 or 5 times at like every international. Like if I went to Europe, like we'd be race over there, and then I was in Japan, and the British team came over to Japan. We were racing there, so I became like good friends with him as well. But
yeah, that's like they always say, oh, they're like racing the arch rivals. Yeah, I just always wondered who.
Not really. Swimming is kind of a interesting sport where
they're not really as many.
There's not really that much animosity.
Do
there
you
might
think
be
it's
like
more between countries rather than individual athletes.
Yeah,
like
I think
saying?
so. Yeah, probably. The USA, like there's only USA are pretty arrogant and
they're in everything.
Can be annoying at major competitions, but all the people that are
And who are the other big countries in IM? So you're saying Japan?
No, Japan. So Japan, like 2016 at the Olympics, they were first and third.
Yep.
So I actually did some training camps with both of those guys, where I went over to Japan for sort of 2 weeks and did training with them, Kosuke Higino and Daiseto. So like they're really good. So in the 400 IM in 2016, it was two Americans, 2 Australians, 2 Japanese, a British, Spanish, or 2 British and Spanish. I think like that's about it. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so America, Japan.
Always big and
typically really good.
Yeah.
These days, the best I am is a French guy who'll probably win at his home Olympics this year.
Yeah.
He broke Michael Phelps' world record last year at the World Championships. So
yeah. Who are we watching? What's his name? We're watching out for?
Leon Marchand.
Okay. Cool.
He could win 3 individual gold medals.
Okay.
200 IM, 400 IM, maybe 200 breast.
Yeah.
Maybe 200 fly. Like he's really good.
Everything.
Like he's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trains in America though.
So talking about keeping your head above the water in terms of like paying for your career. So they always say in swimming there's not a lot of money unless there's sponsorships or you're winning obviously medals. Yeah, how did you survive?
Bank of mum and dad, like
all that, yeah.
I
think that Bronte and I think was it Bronte or Kate who spoke about this. I can't remember which one, but anyway, they always talk about the prize money or was saying how hard it is to keep your head above trying to like
it's really like my best year 2016 I was 7th at the Olympics and I reckon I earned about $40,000.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So like just enough to live, and then before then I lived at home till I was 26 because I literally couldn't afford to move out of home.
Do you think that's improving or there is room for more improvement?
No, I think a lot of Olympic sports still really struggle.
Mm-hmm. Other than your sports that are more professional, like the football, like soccer, or the basketball.
Yeah, where it's on TV, 20 times in a season. That's where sort of a lot of the money is in broadcast deals. I mean, and to be honest, like while swimming is a really popular sport in Australia and is always thought of as like the crown jewel in the like the Olympic team or whatever.
But you never really watch it unless it's a big event.
Yeah, you're relevant for 7 days every 4 years.
Yeah.
And typically that's about it. Maybe Com Games there's a bit more and World Champs there's a little bit of interest, but the vast majority of time is you're pretty relevant and you only race sort of once a year.
Yeah.
That's also the thing, like you're not playing 22 games of footy with opportunities to generate income. Yeah. So it's a lot of government support, so state government support and sports commission support to survive. And then a lot of people work part-time or study. But it's a tough gig you're certainly not getting into swimming to make money. So
of course. You're in the wrong career if that's what you're going for.
Yeah, well, I think that's for most Olympic sports, to be honest.
Yeah, true. So you're working on the Olympic Unleashed program along my idol, Anna Mears. So can we have a chat about what you're doing with your work there?
I haven't actually done it in a while now that I have a sort of a actual job. So it's actually something I really, really enjoy. So getting back into schools and trying to ignite some inspiration in the kids. So I just think when I was in primary school, I think it's a high school program now. It's sort of changed. It was primary school to begin with. It's now moved into high school. I would have just lost my mind if an Olympian came to my school and spoke about.
I met Anna Mears in a program like that, and I literally the same thing. She was like my idol all the way through school. And yes, I think it was a similar program, but it was through Port Adelaide Football Club. Yeah. And and
it's great. Yeah, I've known her for a while, and
I said to somebody the other day, I think I was in swimming. I swim like with the triathlon group, and I said, you know what, my podcast will make it the day that Anna Mears will come on. So I said I've made it that day that happens, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I think she's a bit busy. She's a chef de mission for 2024.
Let's get the Olympics. Let's get Paris over with, and then maybe I'll ask.
No, it's but it's really, really, really enjoyable.
So inspiring the next generation to come up and...
it's really rewarding getting to see kids and seeing how excited they are to hear your stories about the Olympics and hopefully be inspired to... I think the program is not just to inspire people to do sport, it's inspired people to unleash their potential in whatever it is they do. But I love it. Unfortunately, I haven't had too many in the past year, but now that I'm sort of settled in my current job, I'm hoping to carve out some time and get back into the schools because it's something I really love.
Yeah, cool. So since you did so much media, who's your favourite commentator that you'd been asked by or... Because Bruce McAvaney doesn't do swimming, does he?
No, but I've met Bruce before. Hamish McLaughlin is a really, really nice guy. I met him in 2015, I reckon, or 2016. Well, it was in the lead-in, and he invited me to come. Knew I love my footy, and he's like, "Oh, why don't you come down to game day at Channel 7?" And then I met some players, and He's always been really gave me a lot of time. It was really nice to get to know.
Do you ever watch back your races and like hear the commentary as well?
Not really. No.
Yeah, no. It's a thing you just want to live yourself and
Yeah,
get it over and done with.
Like, I'll keep the memory in my head of that race.
Of how you think it is.
Yeah.
The next thing was you talk about having a glass of milk after training and racing. Do you still do that in your general life?
I had a Milo last night actually. I love some milk. So it's.
I think there was an interview with you with Michael Kilman talking about how much you love dairy around your training.
Yeah.
And that was a good one. The next question was like the mental side of sport. Let's have a chat about that. Like, how are you supported through competing at such a high level, and what goes through your mind and something like that?
I think I've been pretty fortunate where I didn't really get that sort of nervousness or worried about or fear of failure or anything like that, because in the end I just enjoyed it.
I think that's really important.
So luckily that we had really great resources of performance psychologists at the VIS, at SASI, at Swimming Australia. So I was fortunate that I didn't have to worry about that side of things, because I just went out and it was almost like I learned a strategy on my own and it works for me. So it was just reaffirming if that ever went wrong, what strategies I could use.
Yeah, that's fair though.
To improve. But we had some great support. Once you're in that high performance system, they do help you if you need it. I'm pretty fortunate where it's came pretty natural. I'm a competitive person. I loved racing.
Competitive in everything, like since leaving a sport as well.
I do get a bit competitive. My wife and I actually played backgammon pretty regularly. Like most nights we'll play one game and the winner's the champion for 24 hours. She's probably just as competitive, maybe even more than me. So not unhealthily competitive. Like I'm not.
You got to have your healthy competitiveness.
Yeah, but I always love a challenge and competitiveness. It's
And then from there, what point did you decide to transition and retire in sport?
So my plan was to retire, try and make Tokyo 2020 Olympics and then retire off the back of that. Obviously COVID changed that.
Yeah.
Pushed it out an extra year. And then I actually got a DVT in my leg at the start of 2021.
Yeah.
So I was out of the water for maybe 4 weeks and had a really interrupted preparation for the Tokyo trials. And I missed the team. And it was like a bit disappointing I didn't want to finish on that. And so at the end of that year, I knew there was a ISL, International Swimming League. And I thought I'll just stay fit. I wasn't on a team yet, but I just approached them all post the Olympics. I knew there was a few roster spots available. So I just put myself out there, let them know what I could do and how I performed short course and did well in a team environment, and luckily got picked up by like Energy Standard, the team, and we ended up winning that season. So
cool.
In 2021, I was in Europe for 4 months,
nice.
unable to get home. So we had a block of a month of racing and then a month in between and then another month of racing.
Yeah, so is this like something that you race? What's the frequency of the races in something
Yeah,
like that?
we raced like 4 weekends in a row.
Yep.
Or like not every weekend, but sort of within a month we had 4 2-day competitions, all point scoring. Every team was full of people from every different country. So I think our team we had 30 something on the roster, and there was maybe 15 countries where we're all from.
This where a lot of like elite swimmers go to, like after.
Yeah, so it was sort of it only happened a few years because the guy who organised it is Ukrainian, and so has since folded since the Ukraine war.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a real team based, exciting 2-day competition, point scoring, and then we had semi-finals and finals, and
what country were you in for this as well?
So left Australia, was in Naples in Italy for a month.
Oh, it's so nice there.
So it was really cool. Got to do a bit of touristy stuff, and it was also at that stage the only people that could travel to Europe were like other Europeans, or if you could get an exemption. So I had to get an exemption from the Australian government to leave the country. And so we were there, it was only Europeans and no Americans, no one from China, no one from Japan, like nowhere else in the world, just other Europeans and Italians. And I had been to Naples a few years before when it was open, and it was actually really nice. It was a lot less chaotic.
I was
really
there
unique.
Just before COVID hit there. I think it was like the very start of Feb 2020. I was in like Naples in Italy just before it hit. It was like so nice around there though.
Yeah.
So in between the races, were you just like carb loading on pasta and pizza and?
Yeah, I had a fair bit of pasta. It's
Do you find
the
it
best
ruins,
pizza, so it's like
Yeah, doesn't it ruin like coming back and trying to find places that are as good though? Or like as
a
fresh?
little bit, but I just know I'm never gonna you're
until
never
get
gonna
back.
find.
Yeah, that's true.
That, but so Naples for a month, and then from there I went to Spain for a training camp with a few people that were on my team. And then from there I went and lived with my Italian friends in Rimini, which is on the Adriatic. Was there for 9 days, and then I went to Turkey.
Yeah.
Because you can. In the EU, without getting a visa, you can only be there for 90 days over a 6-month period.
Right.
And so if I had been in the EU the entire time, I would have overstayed in Europe. So I had to leave Europe for a bit. So I was in Turkey for maybe a week and a half, and then I was in the Netherlands for a month.
Yep.
And that's where the final was. And then got home into quarantine and made it out before Christmas of 2022.
Yeah.
And at that stage, I was thinking about just retiring. Our team had won. I thought, it could be a good thing to finish off on. But Commonwealth Games trials were only 4 months away.
Yeah.
And I thought I would live to regret it. If a time that I could have gone made the team, I would have been like, I should have just trained for an extra 4 months. So I didn't really want to live with that doubt. And I was really, really fortunate that my wife supported me. So there was no rush to go and get a job and start bringing money in, which
Were you together then, or did you meet?
Yep. We met in at the start of or end of 2020.
Okay. Yep.
So I was really fortunate where she could support me for 4 months, and then ended up being that it was really, really quick time to make Commonwealth Games, and even I could need to do a huge PB to make it. So, and by that stage, I knew I was definitely retiring either at end of trials or Com Games, whatever happened, whether I made it or not. And then it was, moving into my new life, essentially. It's like starting from day one again, which is really exciting because it's all this new stuff I've learnt so much in the past almost 2 years now. It's been really good.
So moving into now, what are you doing after swimming? What's your job now?
So I work for the Adelaide Crows.
Good team to choose.
I was lucky. So through I swam with Kyle Chalmers when I was in Adelaide, and he's friends with Sam Jacobs, lives one street away, and so I had known Sam for a bit, and I'd been made redundant from my first job. Sort of like real sliding doors moment. It was made redundant on the Tuesday, and I saw Sauce on the Thursday, round one of the footy, and he asked me how life's going after retirement, and how's the job, and I said, well, I've actually just been made redundant, and Sauce goes, actually a guy in the commercial team's just resigned. They'll be looking to fill the role really quickly. I'll pass the details on to sales manager, who's now my manager.
Yeah.
And then it was like phone call next week, had a coffee, and then the following week had like a proper interview, and then I got the job, and sort of I reckon I only had about less than a week of no work.
Yeah.
Gather Round last year was my first game, and the Crows won by 70 points. They went on a big winning streak. There was a stretch there where since I joined the club they hadn't lost maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and but it's been really good. So
you pretty much answered the next question, which was what was your sliding door moment. So
essentially that, like just knowing Sam, and the job was never advertised. It was you literally couldn't have got it unless I had just bumped into him the night of round one, and I'd been made redundant 2 days earlier. And I enjoy the job way more. So I'm working in the commercial team, looking after the hospitality side and corporate boxes and suites and
lovely
stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds fun. what are you consuming at the moment, as in podcast, TV shows, books?
So I listen to a podcast called No Such Thing as a Fish.
Okay.
It's a podcast done by, there's a show on BBC called QI.
Yes, yeah, another one.
So it's the QI elves who write the show and all the facts. Have a podcast. There's maybe 600 or something episodes. It's been going for a long time. And it's essentially the four people, they bring four facts and they talk about them. It's really funny.
I think I need to add this to my list of things to listen to.
So it's a weekly one. I always listen to that on the drive. And then I watch any sport that's on.
Yeah. Pretty much the same.
any sport that's available,
and if
I'll
there's
watch.
no sport available, I'll watch highlights of the sport that was on.
Yeah. Although I haven't seen The Crown, so we've started watching The Crown. So I'm up to season 2 of that, and it's kind of got me hooked. I wouldn't say I'm the most staunch monarchist, but
is it better after season 1? Because I reckon I've got 3 episodes in, and I was like, oh, I could watch it, and then I've just never kept going.
Yeah, it kind of hooked me in. I don't know, like
so go back and start again.
Maybe it's like it's a slow burn.
Okay, yeah.
But that's probably what's on repeat. But I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, so I've probably seen every episode about 3 times. So new Curb Your Enthusiasm's just coming out, which is Larry David, who was one of the co-writers of Seinfeld. So
yeah, nice.
That's on the radar as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So who are you following on your social media at the moment? So who's your favourite person or topic to look at?
Oh, that's a tough one.
What's a regular occurrence in your feed?
There's my feed is like surfing and bodyboarding.
Yeah.
Any and every sport.
Do you follow a lot of the people that used to race with as well?
Yeah. Like I'm still following a lot of swimming. I couldn't tell. I think world champs are about to start this week.
Yeah.
But to be honest, even when I was swimming, I didn't really notice of the results. I'm not the biggest swim fan, to be honest.
Yeah. That's fair enough. You were like deep in it for so long.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll watch the people I know and support the people I know. But as a sport, swimming, I don't find that entertaining.
Yeah.
I love my Formula One.
Oh,
I love my NBA. I've got 2 fantasy basketball teams in the NBA.
Who do you watch in the NBA?
I watch whoever's on my fantasy team.
Okay.
So one of my teams, I've got Luca, is like my number 1 draft pick in that team. And then my other team, my first pick was Tyrese Halliburton. So
good choice.
I typically will have a look at the game. If there's like 2 or 3 people on my fantasy team, I'll watch it or watch the mini or keep up with the stats. But yeah, my social media is a lot of sport.
Yeah. Well, it's a good feed then.
Yeah. At the moment, lots of Formula One car livery launches.
I know. I'm watching it too.
Yeah.
And between that and it starts soon as well. So it's getting exciting.
Yeah.
Me and my brother send the cars to each other all the time. And it's like, oh, what do you think of what they've done this year?
A lot of exposed carbon fiber this year.
Yeah.
So
what do you think about Hamilton going to Ferrari?
That's great. I actually couldn't believe it. So
no, I believed it. The way he has been, like, I think he just thinks Mercedes aren't moving forward.
Yeah.
And there's probably a bit more progression in Ferrari at the moment. It's probably a good time to go next year.
I feel like it's inevitable that every world champion has to drive for Ferrari at some stage in their career.
But who's going to fit in his seat in Mercedes next year?
Who knows?
Yeah, that's
Albon,
exciting.
maybe. Alex Albon. Bottas.
True. Yeah, we'll see.
I've heard rumours Sainz might move to Sauber because it's becoming the Audi team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Drive to Survive to come back.
Yeah, I think the new season's coming out soon.
It comes out in like a couple of weeks.
So that'll be what I'll be watching.
So I will literally sit there for a weekend and just binge watch the whole thing like I did last year. I watch a lot of the races as well, but I just love how they recap the behind the scenes and all the politics and stuff. And, yeah, and how the AlphaTauri guy, what's his name? The one who does all the Audi ads. He does all the funny ads in Germany to get money for the team.
Oh, Gunther Steiner. Well, he's gone. He's out of a job now.
I wonder if they'll still put him in. Oh, he obviously will still be in there because he was racing last year.
Yeah, so he will be. I'd imagine. I wouldn't be surprised if the broadcasters pick him up just to do special commentary.
Yeah, or their TikTok or something.
Yeah, he's iconic.
And then what do you think about the whole Red Bull politics at the moment?
Actually not that up to date. I just know there's some
heard
sort
about
of
it.
investigation in Christian Horner, but apart from that, I don't really know much.
I heard it even on like the female news articles. They're calling like Jerry Halliwell's husband's in trouble. I saw that as a headline and I was like, that is so funny. But yeah, he's doing a good year of F1. We had a few listener questions. So first one is, what's the importance of having a dog in your life? You can guess who this came from.
I think it's really, really important. I think it's so nice to come home and just have unconditional love and support. I think he was Lenny. My wife and I have an 18-month-old golden retriever.
Yeah.
And we had signed up to get him and picked him up after I retired. So I think it was maybe 5 weeks after I retired.
It's like your
we
retirement
picked him up,
present.
and it really helped me because it actually took me about 4 months to find a job, and it was quite not the easiest thing. I thought it was going to be a bit easier, so it was nice just to have another focus where, all right, I've applied for these jobs, nothing else to do, and now it's like train Lenny to be as good a dog as possible, and now he's a good boy.
That's perfect. That's what you want. What's the importance to love the sport when you're competing at such a high level? You mentioned that earlier, but what do you think, how important that is to being a pro in a sport?
Yeah, I think not loving it would make it really, really difficult.
Yeah. Or like having more pressure from above or something.
I think even you see sort of Nick Kyrgios, he was incredibly, incredibly talented at tennis and a really good player, but clearly didn't love the game or love training. And while I didn't like training, I loved racing, so I knew it was something I had to do.
Yeah.
I think, I can't even imagine. So for me, if I didn't love it, I'd just stop doing it.
Yeah.
But yes, I think it's important.
The next one was, what change did you see in swimming while you were within it? Like within swimming in Australia, or like was there anything that changed dramatically?
It's interesting because I was like, just when I was getting to international level, they had the super suits. So
yes, that was one of my other ones. I was like, were you ever in the time when they had the super
so
suits?
I got to wear those super suits and they were honestly ridiculous. Like they're so much faster. So it was interesting to see that transition. I don't know, another cool thing, like I got to race Michael Phelps.
Oh, that's cool.
Multiple times and stand on it. I got second to him a few times in America and got to meet him, and that'll be something like I'll be able to tell grandkids and stuff that I like, because I'm not sure, you never say never, but I don't think anyone's going to be as decorated as
Somebody
he
said
is.
to me today, I was like, oh, I'm interviewing like this swimmer, and they're like, oh, well, I know with swimming is like Ian Thorpe and Michael Phelps, and I said he probably raced them all, like.
Yeah, I know I raced. I might have raced Thorpe when he made his comeback. I might have raced him in a heat somewhere, but being in the medley, like I raced.
Next to Michael Phelps, who was taller?
Thorpe or Phelps?
No, you were.
Oh, no, he was a little bit taller than me. I reckon he's 6'4", so a little bit taller.
He always looks really big. Like he always did look really tall and Do you feel like being taller really helps be faster as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure because there's some short swimmers who are really fast. I think swimming is a good sport where it's all power to weight ratio. So if you can be really powerful and a bit shorter,
height doesn't really matter in the
like your levers are a bit shorter, so you're probably going to get some less drag. But I think no doubt, like the vast majority of swimmers are on the taller side than like average. But I don't think it's a determining. Like it might help, but just because you're not tall doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be a good swimmer.
Yeah. So your wife, Matilda, this is back from Sally again, said, how valuable has the support been of family and your partner during your career?
It's been huge, yeah. Like I think you can't do it without a support team. Yeah. And I'll extend that wider than family and partners. Like
that seems to be like a common thing. I've like interviewed a few people who've done Ironmans and like similar sports, and they all said having that support team on the side, like literally can make or break you. Yeah,
well, I think people quite often see, it's just a swimmer, it's one person, but they sort of don't realise that you've got your squad of 10. I had 2 swimming coaches, a gym coach, a physio who worked with, a massage therapist, a performance psychologist. dietitian, and then like your family support at home.
Yeah, there's a community behind every athlete.
That's it. And if you don't have that support around you, you just can't.
Yeah, function to the best of your abilities.
Yeah, that's it.
The next one was, how do you store all your medals? Have you got them on display or have you hidden them somewhere?
To be honest, a lot of the really, really old, small ones might have got thrown away. But they're like, there's like tubs. Yeah. So my parents have all of my sort of I've just given to them to store, look after. So like world championships, national titles, stuff like that. They've got in a little cabinet with some stuff.
Yeah.
And then so I've kept all of the national and above, and then all the other stuff is somewhere or maybe gone. I'm not sure. That it's funny when you're a little kid, you win a medal and it's like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
but
I feel like we were in that age group that we got medals for everything as well.
Yeah,
where we're like, you've got a participation for everything you did. Yeah.
And then as you go higher up,
they mean more.
Well, but the lower ones mean a bit less.
Of course, yeah.
So when you do it for 12 plus years, you accumulate a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. What do you think could be improved in Australian swimming? Just like a personal opinion on anything that you think could help like future athletes.
Yeah, that's a tough one because obviously you want the sport to get better. I don't know. I feel like I always had all the greatest support, but maybe obviously that's might not be as consistent across the board.
Would it just come back to like the money to be able to support yourself?
I think having enough money to like live, like if you can at least get minimum wage, I think that would help a lot. I also think
did you have any sponsors
having
as well?
Superannuation paid as well? Because so most swimmers are all
like self-funded.
We're self-employed. Like I had ABN and you're essentially a contractor, and it's up to you to pay your own tax and superannuation out of the lump sums that you get paid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was at the point where I needed to use all of the lump sum to actually live. So, I retired from swimming at 32 with maybe $2,000 in super from my casual job when I was younger. Maybe it's more than I don't know. But compared to someone who's been working, for 10 plus years, you certainly start behind the eight ball when you do actually start your sort of full life career. So something along those lines I think would be really beneficial. I also think more education around that when you're younger is probably needed. I think it is better now where they have that athlete and career support more readily available.
Yeah. So if a kid today wanted to go to the Olympics, what would you say to them? Like a couple of tips that you'd be like?
I'd say if you want to go to the Olympics, I would say just do as many sports as you can.
Yep.
Because you don't know like what sport you're going to be good at. I thought I was going to be a basketball player. Clearly it didn't work out, and swimming was my thing. So, and even if you are a swimmer, like I wouldn't pigeonhole yourself into a certain stroke. Like I thought I was a backstroker, ended up being a 400 AM swimmer. So, that and I'd say just like have a dream and try and achieve it.
Yep.
Because if you just dismiss the dream, like you're never going to achieve it. But I never thought when I was 10 or 12 or even 18 years old that I thought I would become an Olympian or compete for Australia internationally. But you just don't know what you don't know. So I would say like set goals and try to achieve them. And if you don't reach that goal, set a new goal.
Yeah. So have you got the Olympic tattoo after getting there?
I do. I do. On the inside of my bicep, I've got the Olympic tattoo.
Nice.
The yellow is starting to fade.
What?
So I probably need to get it touched up, but that was always going to be given as soon as I made the team.
Does everybody go and do that after they competed?
Not everyone, but a lot of people do. Yeah.
So they just have like a tattoo artist in the village just to draw circles.
No, I actually waited till I was back in Australia because one of my long childhood friends said, "You make the Olympics, I'm going to pay for your tattoo." So I completely forgot he said that, but he messaged me. He's like, "That's it. I've already organised it because he got a bunch of ink. Already organised it. Just let him know when the thing is. I've already paid for it." I was like, "Okay."
That's sick. And then who's the most iconic person that you met in the Olympic Village?
Probably Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
I did also meet Michael Johnson, the 200 meter, 400 meter US athlete.
Yep.
Also met Brazilian Ronaldo.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, at an after party in Rio.
Just to drop that at an after party.
Yeah, so like him and Michael Johnson were both at this party. It was really, really cool. Like Brazilian Ronaldo still had the weird haircut, the little patch on the front of his head. But yeah, that's great. Pretty cool.
All right, now to the best part of the pod. It's called 5 Fast Questions.
Yep.
The numbers are between 1 and 20, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind after the question. You've just got to spit it out. 12. Okay, number 12 is, who's your favourite actor or actress?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Good one. All right, next number.
7.
And number 7, what's your coffee order? No, not in a tablet form.
Or usually a flat white or a magic.
Nice. What's a magic?
It's a double ristretto, 3/4 filled milk. So it's like a less milk than a flat white.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of it called that.
Yeah, so if you go to Melbourne and you order a magic, you'll get one. Yeah, but over here, you'd probably order a 3/4 filled flat white.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. All right, next number.
2.
Okay, number 2. Coffee with somebody dead or alive. Who are you having it with?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, good one. All right, next number. 2 more to go.
1.
Okay, number 1. Your go-to song or artist to listen to?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've got such an eclectic choice of music.
So if you go into like Spotify or your streaming service, what's the first thing you'll click on? Or like a playlist?
Yeah. I'd say like Green Day Dookie. The Dookie album. Like that kind of like pop punk.
Yeah.
It's like OG. But in saying that, like if you go on my Spotify, you'll find like every different genre of music.
Yeah.
I'm pretty... I change it up,
depending on the mood to what you listen to.
Yeah.
And last one.
19.
Oh, I was going to say don't pick 19, but anyway, if the Olympics call you up for Paris, what are you competing in? If you could compete... Is
this where I could just change how good I am at any sport and be it?
Whatever you want, you just could
sport climbing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I've watched that in Tokyo. We're in lockdown and I found the bouldering part so interesting where they had to solve how they could climb up.
And they do it so quickly.
Incredible.
I was going to say that or please not breakdancing because that could be.
I reckon that or the whitewater
rafting
canoe or rafting,
like a Jess Fox kind of thing. Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you for your time.
That's all right.
On the podcast today. That was really interesting and coming behind the scenes of what we see on TV to what really happened.
Yeah. Happy to be on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, wasn't it just an incredible, insightful episode? Like, there's so much that you see of swimming and the hype behind the Olympics that we watch these athletes push through like their max efforts. Like in Travis's case, 4 minutes of work, but really what happened behind that is years and countless hours that none of us realize it took them to get them to that point. So if you enjoyed this ep as much as I did recording it, please go like, subscribe and share, whether that is that you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or maybe you're on YouTube. You know what? Do one better, share it to a friend, or even better, share it to your socials. Or even one better, go and shout us a coffee, link in the bio. So thank you so much for listening today. Have a wonderful rest of your day, have the best week, and see you next Wednesday. Bye!